Jesus, Eve, and the God of man. Does a messenger really matter? Hey everyone, welcome to my channel where we dig deep into spiritual insights and questions that make you think. So let's talk about something that has been a hot topic for centuries, Jesus' existence. There's been a ton of speculations whether Jesus really walked the earth or not. But here's the real question. Does it matter at the end of the day? Is it more important to believe in the messenger or to truly embrace the message? When it comes to education, educators and spiritual leaders, seeking fame and glory for their wisdom isn't the goal. So what really matters is that their message is understood and passed on. There's a catalog of names that have never made the dinner table of every household. So why are we so caught up on the messenger when the message is right in front of us? Here's a thought. We've lost sight of the core message Jesus brought to humanity. These days, even if we heard the message, it is not well received. And maybe, and just maybe, that's because we're focused on the wrong details. So why not Mother Eve? Let's switch gears for a moment. Why don't we worship Mother Eve in the same way that we do Jesus? Think about it. Every Eve story came thousands of years before Jesus. And yet, when you put these two stories together, you'll realize something really profound. Eve, the mother of humanity, laid out life's format for humanity. And if you follow it correctly, it leads to spiritual awakening. I'm just going to make it plain. Their stories are one and the same. If you read both stories with an open mind and an effectual literacy, meaning get the message behind the words, then, my friend, the floodgates of heaven will open and you will know God. Now, here's the thing. I was raised in a home that followed the Western Judeo-Christian religion. So I'm not here to take away from what Jesus represents, and whether I agree or disagree is not the question. The experience is part of my journey. But what if Jesus' story was simply Eve's story retold? And in that case, why isn't there more emphasis on Eve's existence? Is it because we've been conditioned to dismiss Eve's role in our human history because of the so-called sin she committed? So let's get real here for a second. When people argue whether Jesus is black, white, or from another planet, or even another ethnicity, they're missing the bigger picture. I understand that everyone wants to be on a winning team, but the facts in history will diminish those arguments. I once went on a date with a woman that told me that the cloth that Jesus was wrapped in was expensive. She loosely used this rationale to justify her high maintenance lifestyle. Imagine that. It made me realize that not only we're missing the point, we're misinterpreting the story altogether. So let me give you a few things to ponder as we unravel the spiritual riddle. But before we dive in, let me shed some light on Eve. Eve, her message to humanity is just as important as Jesus. In fact, it's the same. Man is a God. I'm going to repeat that. Man is God. Jesus' teachings are written in a way that makes them easier to apply in the physical world, but they're both esoteric literatures. So here's a few questions to ponder. If Adam gave birth to a full-grown woman, allegedly, which was his second wife, Eve, and Adam was allegedly the firstborn, how was it that Eve, the secondborn, became the mother of all living? And why would God tell Eve to be fruitful and multiply, and then make her suffer for doing exactly that? See, there's a paradox in the creation story that's worth thinking about. Why is motherhood both blessing and a curse? How does a snake, a creature without human cognition, speak to Eve with words? Humans developed their language by the age of 5, yet a snake with a magnificent brain, a creature who does not reason like a human, nor has the same thoughts of a human, other than its desire to prey, kill, and eat. No matter how smart a snake is, one cannot communicate with humans in English. So there has to be a deeper metaphor that we're missing here. Here's another one. If the original sin of mankind is at birth, Can someone explain how homosexuality, adultery, or not accepting Jesus Christ of the Lord and Savior is a bigger sin? So how does the sins of man actually stack up in the real world? Because sin is a sin. So how do you categorize them differently? And what's the underlying message about the choices of language and interpretation? Here's another one. How is Eve considered the mother of all living, but every person born is born into death? You go to Mark 12:27 or Mark chapter 12, verse 27, it says that he is not the God of the dead, but the God of the living. And if Eve is the origin of life, why are we taught that life is synonymous with death and suffering? Here's another one. If mankind was created in God's image, why were early humans depicted as illiterate Neanderthals, unable to speak, reason, and no social awareness of self or their God's consciousness? So how do we reconcile the idea that the God's consciousness with the early human evolution? By the way, the intelligence of the Neanderthal man also fits the intelligence of a snake. I'm just saying. And here's one that's close to my heart. So it's a personal grievance, and so I'm going to go into it just a little bit more than I did the others. These people that talk about the glorious light at the end of the tunnel after experiencing death, then come back and confess to the world that they witnessed God in his majestic illumination in this God's face. Let me explain to y'all something. The Bible tells us that the light is only an aspect of God. Light is a manifested phenomenon that moves at its own vibratory rate of motion. However, in its illumination, as God is infinite, light also has no beginning and has no end. The manifestations of light didn't appear on the scene until the fifth verse of the book of Genesis. To witness this phenomenon in so-called death means you have similar resonance as the light you're witnessing. But prior to the manifestation of light in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, there was the waters, there was darkness, there was heavens, there was the earth, and the Spirit of God which hovered. Now, if you close your eyes long enough, you will vibrate as these people who claim to have only seen God on their deathbed. And God will reveal his presence within you. And if God lives in heaven, and in this so-called idea of death or sleep, if you look within, you will see God as well as you will see the heaven. And the problem in all of that is one has to die to see God. But God is the God of the living, not of the dead. I want you to remember that. Ultimately, Jesus' story and Eve's stories are one. And their messages point to the same truth. We are living gods capable of incredible transformation. And if you go to Genesis chapter 3, verse 22, it'll tell you so. But here's the kicker. Whether or not you believe in the actual existence of Jesus or Eve isn't the point. It's about understanding the esoteric wisdom hidden beneath the stories. If you find this topic interesting, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the spirituality, and the mysteries of existence. Let me know your thoughts about the Jesus and Eve in the comments below. Until next time, stay strong, open-minded, and remember, you are a God.